There's a certain part of the buying process that you're not going to want to waive once you have a contract. Let's talk about it. In this competitive market, buyers are waiving a lot of things to get a house. Because it's so competitive right now, there might be 5 to 10 to 20 offers. So they're cutting out things like the appraisal, home warranty. But here's something you're not going to want to waive, and that is the property inspection. I think it would be a mistake to waive that. A property inspection is a thorough investigation of what the property's condition is. There are even a few things that you can see ahead of time by looking at the photos in the MLS. You really can tell. For example, if you want to take a look and see if there's any leaks or a little bit of damage here and there from the windows, the age of the windows, you can tell a little bit from the photos. So that's something to observe. We're going to start with a few things that you'll want to pay special attention to. And a property inspection, with that part of the contract, you usually want to invest in having a professional inspector take a look at the property. That could be anywhere between $400 to $650, something like that. Could be a little bit more than that too. Let's go through a few things that you might want to pay attention to. So you walk in the door. You might want to notice the floors first. See how the floors look. Does everything look like it's even, foundation-wise? Now in California, you're going to find not so much basements, but crawl spaces and slabs. Does it look pretty even? Does the floor look like it's damaged in any way? You want to take a look at that. Are you going to need to change it? That's not too hard to do. Secondly, take a look around at windows. Look at the age of the windows. Are they aluminum windows? A lot of times the houses that were built in the 70s and 80s had aluminum windows, and those are single pane, and most of the time people want to change those out. You may not have to do it right away, but eventually you're going to want to. So you got to think of what the cost is going to be with the windows. Now let's go into the kitchen and take a look around. Are the cabinets old? Let's say they're from the 1990s. Now I know a lot of people these days want to get new cabinets. I don't blame them. Everyone likes the fresh look. Once in a while you can take cabinets and with a professional painting job and getting new fixtures on the cabinets, you can make it look like it's almost brand new. Something to consider if you want to save a little bit of money. The inspector will also take a look at the electrical system. I know I wouldn't be able to tell much if I looked at the electrical system myself, so I like to leave that up to the inspector to let me know what the, what the voltage is and how old it is. Sometimes there's a panel that's just old. There's a couple of name brands of panels that inspectors and electricians look at that are a little unsafe. They're older, but your inspector should be able to tell you that. You'll also want to take a thorough look. The inspector will want to take a thorough look at the furnace, how old it is, as well as the hot water heater, and if they're both working. With the furnace, now hot water heaters are about 10 to 15 years as far as how long they last. The inspector can tell if they're leaking or not. Furnace might be 20 years or so, 25 at the most, I would say. But take a look at these. These are important, and a carbon monoxide test with the furnace is a good thing to have. That's something your inspector is going to tell you about. If you look up at the house that you're considering buying, that you're under contract with, are there any leaks on the ceiling or around the house? Maybe they've been repaired, but maybe not. So you'll want to investigate that. Roofing, a lot of times, is something where the leaks are, it's one of the causes of the leaks. So roofing isn't good any longer, or there could be a plumbing leak. Take a look above at the ceiling and at the walls, see if there's leaks. Your inspector will do that for you as well. And also take a look at the plumbing. There's a pressure test that can check for leakage. And I just, on a listing, not a listing, but on a property under contract for a buyer, I just did that recently. I had a professional company through a plumbing company that tested for any kind of leak problems. They were able to put a microphone up to the wall and hear. That was one of the ways that they did that. One inspection that I think is really important, I like to recommend this to my clients, is a sewage drain test. Now, that might be a cost of about $300 to have a camera a plumber takes a camera and they take it through the sewer line from the house to the street. The reason you'll want to take a look at that is twofold. The reason for wanting to take a look at this sewer drain with a professional camera scope from the plumber is you want to see if there's any cracked piping, any cracked plumbing between the house and the street. That can be very expensive. They look at the matter, like, is it clay? Is it steel? Is it something called Orangeburg tile? That was something that was a composite of tar and cardboard from the 50s, actually. They'll look closely at that and see if there's any stoppage places or cracking in the plumbing that can cause big problems. That can be extremely expensive if you have to replace that. It could be a $20,000 repair. When I bought my house not too long ago, it's a single-story 1,200 square foot house, and I had the plumbing inspected from the house to the street and found that there was about $20,000 worth of work that was needed. And I was ready to back out right at that time because I thought, I don't want to bother with this. I like the house, but I just don't want to spend that money to pay for that. I wouldn't mind paying for a kitchen to be remodeled, but not a drain tile. In this case, the seller actually gave, to stay in the deal, $20,000. And so I went ahead with it. Now your inspector will look at the roofing. That's one of the more expensive systems in the house. Depends on what the size of the house is. There's different kinds of roofing. There's like asphalt roofing with one single, not one shingle on the whole thing, but it's just kind of a simple, there's a 3-dimensional where it's more shingles that are on the roof, and there's a more simple form of the asphalt shingle. There's also clay tiles or cement tiles. The inspector will take a good look at that and see if there's any leaking, see how old it is, and they can even estimate how many more years the roof is going to last. A lot of times a roof that has, for example, a 3-dimensional shingle will last maybe 25 years. There's usually a kind of a warranty type thing on this, and that's good. That's a long time, but what you'll want to look at is how many more years does this roof have left on it, because that is one of the more expensive things to have done. When your property inspector is over for the inspection, they'll be looking in the attic, or they should be anyway, and they'll look at the trusses to see if the foundation, not the foundation, but to see if the house is built correctly with stability and everything. And that's a good thing to have them look at to see if there's also any termite damage. Now, they're not termite inspectors, but they can see some damage a lot of times. I do recommend a termite inspection. So looking at the trusses in the attic is important if there is an attic. And then lastly, the landscaping, and see if the landscaping is sloping away from the house. If it's sloping towards the house or flat, when there is a rainstorm, and around Southern California, that's not too often, but when we get them, they're heavy. The water can be getting under the slab or under the foundation, and you'll want the landscaping away from the house. That's what you'll hear every time from an inspector. You also want to see if there's any big roots in trees that are kind of overgrown that need to be taken down. That can be done. And any really overgrown, old landscaping that should be taken out later. That's a little bit of an expense. Now, I've learned about all this stuff having to do with the contractor's inspection from attending lots and lots of inspections over the many years I've been in this. And I listen to what the inspector is saying. I read over the report as well. Even if the buyer is not able to attend, I'm there to listen to the summary of what's going on with the house. And then to read the inspection report. I can answer any questions about this. Like I said, I'm not an expert on house construction, but I can kind of guide you a little bit, give you recommendations on inspectors, and give me a call if you have any questions. Have a great day. Thanks.